Welcome to GDs, and this is Dune, Part 1. The movie starts on a desert planet Arrakis, where we see the native inhabitants of the planet, called the Freemen, trying to push back their occupiers, the Harkonnen. Harkonnen have been ruling their planet and mining spice from it for decades with an iron fist. Spice, which is being harvested from their planet, is one of the most essential and valuable commodity in the universe, as it helps interstellar travel and gives spacing guild navigators the ability to guide starships to traverse space instantaneously and safely. But one day, Emperor Shaddam orders the Harkonnens to leave the planet, and he gives its reins to Duke Leto of House Atreides, the ruler of the planet Caladan. At planet Caladan, we get our first look of Paul Atreides, son of the Duke and the heir of the House Atreides. His mother, Lady Jessica, is an acolyte of the Bene Gesserit, an exclusive sisterhood, whose members possess advanced physical and mental abilities, and they have been pushing ideas from the shadows for centuries. Lady Jessica has also been training his son in their ways. But Paul still has a long way to go, and has little control over his voice. In addition, he also has been having visions of the future. Later, a convoy arrives to formally tell the Duke of his responsibility for spice collection on planet Arrakis, and the Duke accepts the same. Paul, being trained by Gurney Halleck, as well as Duncan Idaho, wanted to join Duncan to go to Arrakis with the advance party. But his father denies his request and tells him that he wants him to stay by his side, as they will be facing a lot of challenges. He tells his son that the Emperor felt threatened by their house, as their influence grew in other houses, and they started looking towards them for leadership. Thus, the Emperor is sending them to Arrakis, hoping they will fail. He also shares with him that he agreed to go to Arrakis, not because of its wealth, but because of its people. He explains to him that they already have the power of the air and water. And if they are able to forge an alliance with the Freemen, the natives of Arrakis, who are one of the most fierce warriors in the universe, they will also have the power of the desert. Later at night, the Reverend Mother tests Paul to know if he has control over his impulse. Though Paul passes her test, but she is not happy, as Paul is not yet in control of his abilities. It is when we learn that the Bene Gesserit have been told to breed daughters only, but Lady Jessica, out of love for Leto, disobeyed and gave birth to Paul, and now she hopes that Paul is the one they have been waiting for, a mind so powerful that it will unite the worlds and guide humanity to a better future. Before leaving, she tells Jessica that they have done all they can on planet Arrakis, and now it's up to them. Paul, along with the rest of his people, finally leaves Caladan and reaches Arrakis. As they reach the desert planet, they find themselves being greeted and revered by the native population. Jessica tells Paul that they see him as their savior, and it's because of decades of work of Bene Gesserit. As they reach the stronghold, which was established on the planet, we learn that it is protected by shield walls, and the temperature there gets quite high during the day, and no one can survive outside for more than a few minutes if they are not wearing the special suits designed by the Freemen. In addition, Duke Leto also learns that the Harkonnen left them with faulty and crumbling equipments. Thus, it will be quite difficult for them to meet their spice harvesting goals. Duke Leto, along with Paul and Dr. Kynes, who has been appointed by the Imperial as judge of the change, goes to see the harvesting process of spice. Dr. Kynes tells them that the harvester collects spice from the surface of the desert, as long as it can, before being attacked by sandworm, which is attracted by vibrations, and they cannot use the shield against them, as shield causes them to go on a killing spree, and causing a lot of damage. Thus, the harvester collects spice till the last moment, and then it is lifted off by a carrier, before it can be attacked. But because of the faulty equipment, the carrier is not able to connect with the harvester. Leto, in order to save his men, goes to pick them. Paul, being on the surface, and in the influence of spice, has a stronger vision, causing him to zone out. But he is pulled back in time. Returning back to the base, Leto asks Dr. Kynes to tell the Emperor about the condition of the equipment left behind, and get them more time to bring up the production. But Dr. Kynes tells him that the desert is not kind to equipment, and she cannot do anything about it. Later, Duncan gets back, and he tells Duke Leto that it was very difficult for him to find the Freemen, as he looked for them for days, but he could only find them when they wanted to be found. He shares with him that they are indeed one of the most fierce warriors he has ever faced, and they fight like demons. But despite the initial encounter, he was able to establish a rapport with them, and their leader agreed to meet with him. He also tells him that they have a very limited knowledge about the Freeman and their ways, and that their population is quite large, and not in mere thousands, as estimated by the Harkonnen. In order to have a healthy relationship, Duke Leto asks the Freeman chieftain Stilgar on how they can peacefully coexist, as he does not want to rule like their predecessor. Stilgar tells him that in order to do so, he should stay away from the desert and their home. Duke assures him that he will only venture into the desert for his duties and for spice collection, and as long as he is ruling there, they will never have to fear anything from him, and he will never venture to their sietch, where they live. Stilgar, knowing this, is happy with the terms. Paul, while learning more about the planet, is able to evade a hunter-seeker shot in order to kill him. And as they search, they find that a Harkonnen soldier had been hiding in the walls for days. It is when we learn that the Emperor sent them to the planet to be eliminated. And we get to see the Reverend Mother telling Baron Vladimir of House Harkonnen that the Emperor will also send his Sardaukar troops to help them destroy House Atreides. But she seeks assurance from him that Lady Jessica and her son Paul will not be harmed, as they are under their protection, and the Baron agrees to the same. During the night, Dr. Wellington UA, a trusted doctor for House Atreides, brings down the shield walls, jams their communication, and disables defense weapons for the stronghold, which allows the Harkonnens and Sardaukar to attack a defenseless House Atreides. He also drugged Paul and took out the guards of Duke Leto. By the time Leto found what was happening, he was incapacitated by Dr. UA. Dr. UA tells him that the Harkonnens had been torturing his wife, and in order to save her, he had to betray him. Though he assures him that he will do everything he can for Paul, and takes his ring. He also implants a tooth in him, telling him that it's filled with poisonous gas, and he can do a lot of damage with his final breath. With Harkonnens and Sardaukar attacking a defenseless House Atreides, House Atreides falls. The Baron, agreeing not to harm Paul and Lady Jessica, sends them to be dropped in the desert, so that the desert could take care of them. But Paul, using the voice, is able to get his mother's gag removed, and they are able to eliminate their captors. But their ship is remotely disabled by the Harkonnens. Dr. UA hid a care package for them in the ship, which had the ring of House Atreides, and basic supplies for them to survive, along with a beacon, so that if anyone survived, they could find them. Paul and Jessica spend the night in the desert, where Paul, surrounded by spice, has visions of a bloody holy war, fought across the universe, in his name. In addition, he also tells his mother that he knows she is pregnant. Back at the stronghold, the Baron of the Harkonnens kills Dr. UA, and tells him that he will now join his wife, while Duke Leto, with his final breath, poisons the chamber. Duncan Idaho was the only one who was able to fight his way out, and escapes with a ship. In the morning, he finds Paul and Lady Jessica, and pledges his allegiance to Paul, the new Duke of House Atreides. He takes them to a research station, where they are helped by Dr. Kynes. Being there, Paul learns that the research center was looking for ways to bring out the water trapped under the sand, in order to make the planet a paradise, but then spice was discovered and the project was abandoned. Paul, learning that the Emperor took a side, knows that if the information gets out, there will be a lot of unrest. Thus he comes up with a plan to force Emperor Shaddam to marry his daughter with him, as it will be the only way for him to avert a civil war. But in order to do so, they will need help of the other houses, but because of the communication blockade, no information is able to leave the planet. Paul assures Dr. Kynes that if she helps them, he will return the favor by turning her planet into a paradise. As being an emperor, he will have the power to do so. Dr. Kynes agrees to help, but before they could get out, they were attacked by Sardaukar. Duncan holds them back and sacrifices himself in order to give them time to escape. Dr. Kynes directs them to a ship and tells them to find the Freeman, while she goes on a separate way, assuring them that she will get their message out. Paul and Lady Jessica are able to get out, but are being chased by Harkonnen ships. Thus, in order to survive, Paul flies into a sandstorm. Paul, having more visions and hearing voices, is able to guide his ship in the storm. But Dr. Kynes was not so lucky, as before she could leave, she is killed. Back at the stronghold, we see that the Baron survived, and he is informed by Robin that they lost Paul in the storm. But he assures him that no one could survive the storm. Baron, being confident that the House Atreides is now wiped out, tells him to speed up spice production and to eliminate all the freemen from the planet. Back in the desert, as the storm subdues, Paul crashes in the desert. Paul, learning the Freeman way, knows how to move in the desert, so that they don't attract the sandworm. Thus they move forward, in order to find the Freeman, while throughout the journey, Paul hears voices, and has visions. As they were about to reach solid ground, a sandworm was able to detect them, and they had to make a dash, in order to survive. And they were able to make it just in time. Being there, the Freeman show themselves. Stilgar, being there, agrees to take Paul with them back to the tribe, as he is still young and could learn their way, but was not sure about the lady. But Lady Jessica proved herself, by showing him that she can hold her own ground, and seeing this, Stilgar grants both of them protection, with their fates to be decided in their tribe. But one Freeman warrior, Jamis, opposed Stilgar's decision, resulting in Paul fighting him in a duel. Paul is given a sacred weapon by Cheney, the girl, who he has been seeing in his visions. Paul is able to make Jamis yield, but he learns that the duel only ends when one of them is dead. Paul, hearing a voice telling him to rise, finally ends the duel. With Paul winning the duel, he is accepted by the Freeman as one of their own. Jessica wants to leave the planet with Paul, but Paul tells her that he now understands his father's vision for Arrakis, and tells her that their way forward is through the desert. And they join the Freeman as they head deep in the desert. And as the movie ends, Paul sees a Freeman riding a sandworm, and he is amazed by the power of the desert, while Cheney tells him that this is only the beginning. Thanks for watching. And if you liked it, please subscribe.